Today's podcast is brought to you by a company who we have been using for years and takes up significant shelf space inside of our own kitchen. Biosteel Sports Nutrition.
It was a product created out of necessity 8 years ago and is trusted by athletes like Connor McDavid, Tyler Seguin, Brooke Henderson, Rosie MacLennan, and Andrew Wiggins.
They're really a leader in sports drinks for everyone, from professional athletes to everyday champions.
Understand something, guys. Nothing worth ever having in this world comes easy.
Do what these champions doing if you're going to be a champion.
You control your outcome.
Who am I?
I'm a champion.
What up, champions? That's the only start I know how to do. Also, we were just having a mad karaoke party in the kitchen, so we're ready to go, is what I'm saying. Basically,
We're ready to go.
Back, brand new Biosteel breakdown. I apologize to everyone for being away. I was down with the count, but I'm back, and I had some time to recover and refocus, and I'm ready to go. So we're going to crush this one.
Left me hanging.
I know, I'm so sorry. I stranded you.
All good. So today we are discussing a very controversial topic in strength and conditioning.
Yes.
We are chatting about crunches.
This is the Rocky 4 montage exercise. That's what this is. I think Rocky in that movie does, is it 4? I don't know. When he fights Ivan Drago. I think he does crunches in every single spot within Philadelphia. So this is an exercise that has been around since the beginning of time. This is
beginning of time.
Well, this is our first and time starts with a Stallone movie, obviously. This is our first, one of our first movements that I think most people do when they get into the gym, when they start, not even get into the gym, but when they start thinking about working out when you're like 11, I don't know, 10 or 11 or 12, like as a younger athlete, or even when you're older, you're really intimidated to go in the gym. So you go in your room and you bang out some crunches and some air squats and a couple pushes, right? Or you play the card game. Remember the deck? Did you ever play that game?
I never played that one, but I know of it.
Yeah. So this is one of the exercises. So why, I guess, are crunches controversial is the first question. Because for some people they're not, or maybe they don't know why they're controversial. It's a hard word to say. Crunches are controversial in the strength and conditioning world because of the stress they put on the spine. So they put your spine in a series of repeated flexions over and over again, which is the same mechanism that creates disc herniations. So in recent years, they have, the strength and conditioning people have gotten away from crunches and moved into different alternatives as a safer means of training. And this is debated. So the experiments that they did, they took a spine, cadaver spines, and then they also did it with, I believe it was pig spines, but they took cadaver spines and they set up a machine that was a flexion machine inside of a lab, and they repeatedly flexed it, and they they recorded how many flexions it took until a disc herniated, and in all the cases they created a disc herniation eventually. So there wasn't a situation where like it could go indefinitely. Eventually it gave up. They took that data and information and then applied that to everyday life and said, okay, well, there's a good chance that your disc herniations are occurring as a result of these flexions. So let's get away from that, especially within our training. And that even like the research itself has been debated. I know some people say that because it's a cadaver spine, there's not fluid moving up and down the spine. So it's not a fair assessment. But Stuart McGill is one of the leading experts. He's a Canadian. He lives down the road from Toronto. And I think he's a very bright and intelligent guy. And I think the research is solid on that, several studies on the spine health. So that's why crunches are frowned upon or controversial, because they have the ability to potentially cause, I don't want to use that. There's not causation, but there's correlation between repeated spine flexions and disc herniations, and crunches. They're a repeated spine flexion. So that's why they're controversial.
Okay. And as for those of you who do not know, I have had a disc herniation, and whether or not it was due to crunches or
falling down the stairs,
or
it's hard to say really.
Repeated falling. There's theory. Some of the chiropractors that I went to repetitive falling on my butt from figure skating, right, which happened as a kid and ongoing. And then I went into sports like rugby, and I did some powerlifting. I did volleyball, which also a lot of flexion, also extension, but a lot of flexion positions. So again, I don't know exactly what caused it, but crunches were definitely something that I stayed away from in protecting my back, especially like post serious injury. And Stuart McGill's book, Low Back, what's it called? Low Back. We will link it up. But that was game changing for me. It's doing a lot of extension as opposed to the flexion movements all the time.
Exactly. So I think my opinion on it is why risk it? Like why? Okay, so if you do that over and over again, it will happen. So why even risk it? Low back pain is, I think, the number one complaint in North America, which makes sense because we sit all day at work, we sit all day at home, we sit in the car, so we're always in a flex position. So we're creating a pattern that just reinforces that position, and there's so many other options. Like there's so many other possible options for core training. Everything from performance to like general health to having like a shredded 6-pack ab. So
just one.
Yeah. So why even take the chance and put yourself in a compromised position? We can just stay away from that completely and look at different options. I know another concern is that if you're always pulling through your rectus abdominis, like the front muscle, the risk is that you'll pull yourself further into flexion, so you'll change your hip position again, so you'll reinforce that bad pattern. So yeah, again, like why risk it is kind of our opinion. So that's
our opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just avoid crunches altogether and do something else.
Okay, let's talk about what those other exercises would be.
The other exercises, without getting into too many specifics, I think we fall into a camp, like an anti-camp, anti-flexion, anti-rotation, anti-extension, which means that our base should start with maintaining like a nice strong core. So the exercises that we choose are designed to maintain that position. So planks are a great example.
Everyone loves to hear that.
Everyone loves the planks for days. Planks are a great example.
Side planks, variations of planks.
Yeah, bird dogs. There's a ton of ground-based exercises that are all important for maintaining that neutral core position. And then if you look at the way that like babies move and the way that we develop, you see them use all those positions, right? So when they're learning core control, you watch them like lie on the ground and they bring their knees up and their hands up. You can't see my knees below the table, so I don't know why I did that. But they bring their knees and hands up into like this little baby ball position, and that's like that in itself is a core exercise.
Dead bug.
Exactly, it becomes a dead bug. So we use that as adults as a dead bug. In addition, you can do a ton of different anti-rotation movements with bands. So we attach bands to like a squat stand, and then we're pressing the band out and holding it. You can do that stuff with a stability ball. You can do that stuff with an ab wheel, like a roller. A ton of different exercises, but focused on maintaining the core rather than flexing through the core. So I think the big ones that I would suggest then would be plank, side plank, bird dog, and farmer's walk. And if you don't know what any of those are, there's tons of videos online. Farmer's walk is what it sounds like, something that a farmer would do. You pick up 2 heavy weights, one on either side, and you walk them for a distance with your shoulders back and your core nice and tight. So those would be our suggestions instead. Cut the crunches out, put in some planks, put in some side planks, put in some bird dogs and some farmer's walks, and I think you'll see some huge results. If you are experiencing some back pain, it'll be a great way to alleviate that. And if you're looking for performance or just getting jacked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to note that a lot of people think that some lower back pain is just normal with training hard, but it's not necessarily something that you have to suffer through if you're doing, the right exercises when it comes to core.
Well, there's a difference between sore muscles and pain, right? Yeah. So knowing what which is important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But that's it. That's the Biosteel breakdown. As always, thank you to Biosteel for sponsoring the podcast. Code word Champ Lifestyle. Capital C, capital L. Go on their website, pick up some of their products. They are solid. Anything else?
Have a great week. That's all.
That's it, guys. Take care.